but this time we're going to be reading in Barnes & Noble. So we're going to do a little bit earlier over the next couple of days, and I'm sorry, I'm messing with my hair. But all right, let's start chapter 3. Oops. Okay, let's get started. I hope you all are having a lovely day, by the way. They were indeed a queer-looking party assembled on the bank. The birds were dragged feathers, the animals with their fur clinging close to them, and dripping wet, cross, and uncomfortable. The first question, of course, was how to get dry again, and they had a conclusion about this. And after a few minutes, it seemed quite natural to Alice to find herself talking familiarly with them as if she had known them all her life. Indeed, she had quite a long argument with the Lori who had at last turned sulky, and would you only say, I am older than you, and you must know better. And this Alice was not allow without knowing how old it was, and the Lori positively refused to tell its age. There was no more to be said. At last, the mouse, who seemed to be a person of some authority among them, called out, Sit down, all of you, and listen to me. I'll soon make you dry enough. And all that sat down at once in a ring with the mouse in the middle, and Alice kept her eyes anxiously fixed on it, for she felt for sure would catch a bad cold if she did not get dry very soon. Ahem, said the mouse with an important air. Are you ready? This is the driest thing I know. Silence all around, if you please. William the Conqueror, whose cause was favored by the Pope, was soon submitted by the English, who wanted the leaders and had been of late much accustomed to excursions and conquest. Edwin and Morcar and the Earls of Mercia and Northumbria. Ugh, said the Lori with a shiver. I beg your pardon, said the mouse, frowning but politely. Did you speak? Not I, said the Lori hastily. I thought you did, said the mouse. I proceed. Edwin and Morcar, the Earls of Mercia and Northumbria, declared for him, and even Stingad, the patriarch Archbishop of Canterbury, found it advisable. Found what? Said the duck. Found it, the mouse replied, rather crossly. Of course, you know what it means. I know what it means well enough. When I find a thing, said the duck, it's generally a frog or a worm. The question is, what did the Archbishop find? The mouse did not notice this question. Hurriedly went on, found it advisable to go on with Edgar Atheling to meet William and offer him the crown. William's conduct at first was very moderate, but the insolence of the Normans. How are you getting on, my dear? It continued, turning to Alice as it spoke. As wet as ever, said Alice, melancholy tone. It doesn't seem to dry me at all. In that case, said the Toto solemnly, rising to his feet, I move that meeting adjourn for the immediate adoption of more energetic remedies. Speak English, said the egret. I don't know the meaning of half of those long words and those what's more, I don't even believe you either. And the egret bent down its head to hide a smile, and some of the other birds tittered audibly. "What I was going to say," said the dodo in an offended tone, "was that the best thing to get us dry would be a caucus race." "What is a caucus race?" said Alice. Not that she much wanted to know, but the dodo had paused as if it was something that somebody ought to speak on, and no one else seemed inclined to say anything. "Why," said the dodo, "the best way to explain it is to do it. And as you might like to try the thing yourself some winter day, I will tell you," said the dodo, "how to do," and managed it. First, it marked out the race course in sort of the circle. The exact shape didn't matter, it said, and all of the party were placed along the course, here and there. There was no 1, 2, or 3 in a way, but they began running when they liked and left off they liked, so that it was not so easy when the race was over. However, when they had begun running half an hour or so, they were quite dry again. The dodo called out, "The race is over," and they are all crowded around the painting and asking, "But who has won?" The question the dodo could not answer without a great deal of thought, and it sat for a long time with one finger pressed upon its forehead, and the position of which usually see Shakespeare in the pictures of him, while the rest waited in silence. At the dodo, everybody has one, and all must have prizes. But who is to give the prizes? Quite a chorus of voices asked. "Why, she, of course," said the dodo, pointing to Alice with one finger, and the whole party at the once rounded her, calling out a confused way, "Prizes, prizes." Alice had no idea what to do in despair. She put her hand into her pocket and pulled out a box of comfits. Luckily, salt water had not gotten to it, and handed them round as prizes were exactly one apiece around. "But she must have a prize herself, you know," said the mouse. "Of course," said the dodo, very gravely. "What else have you got in your pocket?" He went on, turning to Alice. "Only a thimble," said Alice sadly. "Hand it over," said the dodo. And then they all crowded round her, and once more, while the dodo solemnly presented the thimble, saying, "We beg your acceptance of this elegant thimble," and when it had finished sort of a speech, they cheered. "Aw, thank you so much, Joyce." "Hi, Shotty." I will read here nightly. Well, daily right now. Thank you guys for joining. I love Alice in Wonderland. You can't go wrong. Alice's thought the whole thing was very absurd, but they all looked so grave, and she did not dare to laugh. As she could not think of anything to say, she simply bowed and took the thimble, looking as solemn as she could. The next thing was to eat the comfits. This caused some noise and confusion, and the large birds complained as they could not taste theirs, and the small ones choked and they had patted on the back. However, it was at last that they sat down in a ring and begged for the mouse to tell them something more. "You promised to tell me your history, you know," said Alice. "And why is it that you hate C&D?" she said, and she added in a whisper, half afraid it would be offended again, "Mine is as long and as sad tale. said the mouse, turning to Alice, sighing. It is a long, certainly, said Alice, looking down with a wonder at the mouse's tail. But why do you call it sad? She asked, on puzzling about it while the mouse was speaking, so that it had her the idea of the tale was something like this. Fury said to Alice, a mouse that he met in the house. Let us both go to the law. I will prosecute you. Come to I'll take no denial. We must have a trial, for really this morning I've nothing to said. To the mouse the cure, such a trial, dear sir, with no jury or judge, be tedious or dry, I'll be a judge, a jury, said cunning old Fury, I try. The whole case cause and condemn you to die. You are not attending, said the mouse to Alice severely. What are you thinking of? I beg your pardon, said Alice very humbly. You had ought to be the fifth bend, I think. I had not, cried the mouse sharply and very angry. A not, said Alice, always ready to make herself very useful, anxiously about her. Oh, do let it help me undo it. I shall not do nothing of the sort, said the mouse, getting up and walking away. You insult me by talking such nonsense. I didn't mean it, pleaded poor Alice, but you're so easily offended, you know. The mouse only growled in a reply. Please come back and finish your story. Alice called after it, and the others all joined in chorus. Yes, please do. But the mouse only shook its head impatiently and walked a little quicker. What a pity it wouldn't stay, sighed the lory, as soon as it was quiet out of sight, and the old crab took the opportunity of saying to her daughter, Ah, my dear, let this be your lesson to you to never lose your temper. Hold your tongue, Mom, said the young crab, a little snappishly. You're enough to try the patience of an oyster. I wish I had our Dinah here. I know I do, said Alice aloud, addressing nobody in particular. She had fetched it back. And who is Dinah, if I might venture to ask the question, asked the Lory. Alice replied eagerly, for she was always ready to talk about her pet cat. Dinah, our cat. She's such a capital one for catching the mice you can't even think. And oh, I wish you could see her after the birds. Why, she'll eat itself up very carefully, remarking, I really must be getting home. The night air doesn't suit my throat. And the canary called out in the trembling voice to its children, Come away, my trembling dears. It's high time you were in bed. On various pretexts, they all moved off, and Alice was soon left alone. I wish I had mentioned Dinah, she said, to her first melancholy tone. Nobody seems to like her down here, and I'm sure she's the best cat in the world. Oh my dear, I wonder if I shall ever see you anymore. And here poor Alice began to cry. She felt very lonely and low-spirited, and in a little lower she heard a pitter-patter of footsteps in the distance, and she looked up eagerly, half hoping the mouse had changed its mind and was coming back to finish his story. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And we'll keep reading here every day, a little bit every time. But I love Alice's Adventures of Wonderland. And thank you, Shoddy and SCA fan, for being here. And Gizmo the cat. You know, secretly, I believe I am a big cat. I'm a Leo. And I only like to be pet when I asked. Then I'll give you attention. But that's what I always say. I'm just a giant cat. Oh, thanks for subscribing, CM. That's very sweet of you. I appreciate that. I'm from planet Earth. No, really, I'm from Texas. So, I'm home. But I've lived everywhere. But I want to come to the USA. No, I'm sorry. I don't do stuff like that. I just read storybooks. But and roller skate and paint and all kinds of mayhem. Not really. But I love you all very much and thank you for being here. And I apologize that my timing is a bit off right now. But I hope you have a lovely day. And I hope to see you tomorrow. And please like and subscribe for more stories. And we'll be back to bedtime soon. Take care. Keep it crispy.